You were born into a story. Not one you wrote. Not one you even understood. But one already moving, already speaking, already whispering into your mind before you had words for it. You opened your eyes, and the programming began. Faces, voices, rules, smiles that meant approval, frowns that meant shame, hands that picked you up when you cried, or didn't, and you began to build something in that darkness. Not a self, but a model of what you were allowed to be, of how to survive. And from that moment on, your mind became a filter, not a mirror, not a window, a filter. You think you see the world, but you only see your version of it, crafted by experience, reinforced by memory, warped by trauma, shaped by expectation. Let's begin with memory. You've heard that memory is unreliable, but do you understand how deep that goes? Every time you remember something, you're not playing back a recording, you're recreating a painting. From fragments, from emotion, from guesses. And each time you recreate it, you paint over it. Slightly. Permanently. You don't remember what happened. You remember the last time you remembered it. Memory isn't storage. It's storytelling. And your brain is a compulsive liar. Not out of malice, but out of efficiency. The truth is expensive. Emotion is faster. So the brain edits. And it doesn't tell you it did. You say, I remember that day perfectly. But maybe you remember the picture. Maybe you remember the story someone else told you. Maybe you remember the version that hurts less. Or the version that hurts more. Because sometimes, pain feels more honest than peace. Let's go deeper. Thought. You think you control your thoughts. That they arise because you will them to. Try this. Don't think for 60 seconds. Not about anything. Just stop. You'll see the truth. You don't generate thoughts. You receive them. Like radio signals. Random. Chaotic. Endless. And your mind, desperate for order, tries to string them together. To make sense. To form a self. But the self isn't at the center. It's a side effect. That's not philosophy. That's neuroscience. There are experiments, real ones, where brain activity indicating a decision begins seconds before you become aware you made it. You think, I chose to move my hand, but your hand was already moving. And your mind simply caught up, then told a story that made it feel like it was in charge. You are not the author. You are the narrator, and not even a reliable one. Let's talk about emotion. You believe your emotions are reactions to reality. Something happens. You feel something. Simple. But emotion often comes first. And then the brain invents a reason. You feel a wave of sadness. And your mind says, it must be because of that thing she said yesterday. But maybe it's because of blood sugar. Or a smell you didn't notice. Or the way the light changed in the room. The feeling came first. The explanation came after. And yet, you believe the explanation because the mind would rather be wrong than confused. Still feel like you're in control? Let's talk about belief. You think you believe what you believe because it's true, because it makes sense, because you reasoned your way to it. But most of your beliefs came from repetition, not reflection. The more you hear something, the more true it feels. That's called the illusory truth effect. It doesn't matter if it's logical, or consistent, or backed by evidence. If you hear it enough, it starts to feel real. And feeling real is enough for the brain. So what do you believe right now? Not because it's true, but because it's familiar? Let's talk about identity. You say, I know who I am. But what does that mean? Are you the person who gets up early and works hard? Or the one who procrastinates until the guilt consumes you? Are you the one who says, I love you with conviction? Or the one who silently wonders whether you even know what love is? Are you the you from 5 years ago? Or 5 minutes ago? Because the truth is, there is no single you. You are a shifting set of patterns, responses, roles. The you who speaks kindly to strangers is not the same as the you who lashes out at someone you love. The you who makes plans is not the same as the you who breaks them. And when these versions contradict each other, your mind edits the conflict, smooths it out, pretends it all fits. You tell yourself, I've always been this way. But that's a lie. You haven't. You've changed. You're changing now. And most of that change isn't under your control. Your brain wants consistency, so it fakes it. Let's talk about trauma. Trauma doesn't always look like violence. It doesn't always leave scars on the outside. But it leaves something deeper. Wiring. Trauma isn't just what happened to you. It's what your mind did to survive. It shaped your worldview, made you hyper-aware, numb, reactive, withdrawn, controlling, afraid. And your mind doesn't tell you, this is trauma. It tells you, this is who I am. But it's not. It's who you became to stay safe, even if there was no danger anymore. Let's talk about adaptation. You learned how to behave before you knew what behavior was. You watched. You copied. You obeyed. You learned what made people smile, what made them yell, what made them leave. And over time, you shaped yourself around their reactions. Not because you're weak, but because your survival depended on it. Humans are social creatures. To be rejected is to die. So your mind made choices for you. Hide this part. Exaggerate that one. Laugh when it's not funny. Nod when you don't agree. Don't cry. Don't ask. Don't need. And now, as an adult, you wonder why you feel hollow. Why connection feels fake. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the mask. The one you've worn so long. You forgot it was a mask at all. Let's talk about voices. There are voices in your head. Internalized voices. The ones you grew up with. The ones that judged you, ignored you, compared you, controlled you. Now those voices speak in your tone, and you think it's you. They say, that's not good enough. You'll never be enough. You hear them in your own voice. So you believe them, but they're not yours. They were installed. Let's talk about behavior. You do things you regret. You break promises to yourself. You repeat patterns you swore you'd escape. And then you judge yourself. What's wrong with me? But maybe nothing is wrong. Maybe you're not lazy. You're tired from years of pretending. Maybe you're not broken. You're protecting wounds you can't name. Maybe you're not unlovable. You've just never felt safe enough to be seen. Your behavior is not your identity. It's your strategy. And strategies can change. Let's talk about belief again. People die for beliefs. People kill for beliefs. People destroy families, friendships, nations. We believe what feels safe, what fits our narrative, what aligns with our identity. And when new information threatens that identity, the brain doesn't change the belief. It rejects the information. It's why smart people believe absurd things. Why logic doesn't always work. Why facts alone don't change minds. Because the belief isn't about the idea. It's about belonging. And losing it feels like death. Let's talk about fear. Your brain evolved to detect danger, but it hasn't evolved fast enough to know the difference between real threat and imagined one. It reacts to emails like tigers, to silence like abandonment, to disappointment like exile. It overreacts, then rationalizes. You say, I'm just being careful. I'm just being realistic. But really, you're afraid. Afraid to fail. Afraid to be seen. Afraid to lose what you never had. And fear runs deep. So deep, you don't know where it ends and you begin. Let's talk about meaning. You want life to mean something. You want pain to have a purpose. You want to believe the suffering was worth it. So your mind creates meaning. It connects dots that don't connect. It invents symbols, destinies, signs. Not because they're true, but because chaos is unbearable. And even a painful story feels safer than no story at all. Let's talk about silence again. If you sit long enough, the thoughts slow down. If you listen long enough, the voice begins to dissolve. What's left is not a thought, not a story, not a belief. It's presence, pure awareness. Not something you can hold, but something that holds you. And maybe, just maybe, that is the real you. Not the noise, not the roles, not the trauma, but the quiet underneath. Let's talk about control. The mind is obsessed with it. It wants to believe it's in charge, that it's directing the story, that every step, every word, every choice was made deliberately. But look closely. Most of your life has been shaped by things you didn't choose. Your face, your voice, your culture, your genetics, your wounds, the school you went to, the people you met, the heartbreaks, the near misses, the random conversations that changed everything. You didn't plan it. You didn't control it. But it became your life. And then you looked back and said, I chose this. Because admitting the truth that you've been carried by currents you couldn't see is unbearable. So your mind builds the myth of control. It tells you, you're doing this, you're making progress, you're behind, you're failing, as if there's a map, as if there's a destination, as if you're the one steering the ship. But maybe you're the ship, and the ocean, and the wind, and the storm, and control is just another wave. Let's talk about pain. Pain teaches, but it doesn't always teach what you think. Sometimes it teaches you to hide, to disconnect, to anticipate rejection before it happens, to leave before they can hurt you. Sometimes it teaches you not to feel at all. You become numb, detached, functional, but empty. And people praise you for it, for being strong, for being independent. But you're not strong. You're surviving. And you call it personality. Let's talk about healing. You think healing is becoming someone new, but it's not. Healing is remembering who you were before the world taught you who to be. It's unlearning. It's unbecoming. It's walking backward into the pain, touching it, holding it, letting it speak, and realizing it was never your fault. The fear, the shame, the silence. They weren't born in you. They were given to you. And you carried them so long, they started to feel like home. Let's talk about awakening. Awakening isn't enlightenment. It's not peace, not bliss, not floating above the mess. It's sinking into it, finally seeing things as they are, without the filters, without the justifications, without the voice telling you a story. It's terrifying, because it means everything you believed about yourself might be a lie. It's liberating, because it means you can finally stop performing. You can just be messy, conflicted, real. Let's talk about truth. The truth is this: you are not your thoughts. You are not your memories. You are not your voice. You are not your story. You are not your wounds. You are not even your identity. You are the space in which all of that arises. The silence beneath the noise. The awareness watching it all happen. That's not a metaphor. It's not poetry. It's the only thing that has ever been constant. Everything else has changed, but the one watching has always been here. So now, in this moment, you can let go. You can stop clinging to the illusion. Stop defending the narrative. Stop fighting to be someone. You are not someone. You are something far deeper. Something the mind can't label. Something the world can't touch. Stillness. Awareness. Presence. That is you. Always has been. And always will be. But your mind? Your mind was never yours. It was built, shaped, programmed, hijacked. And now, you finally see it. Not as your enemy, but as your tool. You can use it, but you don't have to believe it. Because now, you know the truth. You are not your mind. You never were.